What did the Dallas Cowboys, Mike Evans, JuJu Smith-Schuster, Odell Beckham, and Mark Ingram all have in common? Well, if you have them on your fantasy team, then you're probably freaking out. And I'm going to tell you if you should or if you shouldn't. And before we get into that, I want to make sure you know that we are doing a Patrick Mahomes autographed plaque from NFL Shop giveaway. We're going to give it away to one lucky subscriber this week on our live start sit broadcast that we do Sunday morning. All you got to do to be eligible to win is click that little subscribe button below. That's it. Click the subscribe button, win an autographed Patrick Mahomes wall plaque. What could be better than that? What could be easier than that? No excuse. Plus, you get all the amazing, great content that myself and Pierre are bringing you every single day. So hit that subscribe button, get yourself eligible to win, make it happen. No excuse not to. So, yes, today we are talking about players that you maybe or maybe should not be panicking about. If you have them, you probably are panicking, right? Because they have not been producing for you. These are guys that you drafted to be your every week, set and forget, lead you to fantasy greatness, and it just hasn't happened. So let's jump right into it. And let's start, of course, with the big topic, and that's the Dallas Cowboys and that offense and how putrid and horrendous they looked on Monday night with Andy Dalton. Now, I thought they'd be better. I didn't think they'd be as good as they were with Dak or better than they were with Dak, but I thought they'd be good enough. Might be time to panic. So let's break it down. Let's start with Zeke. I think if you got Zeke, you're fine. The thing with Zeke, yeah, he had those 2 fumbles, but that has nothing to do with Dalton. That has nothing to do with Dak Prescott being hurt. That just has to do with him having to happen to fumble twice. I don't know what I'm trying to say there. To fumble twice in the same game. Now, he was targeted 9 times by Andy Dalton. 9 targets. Like, Andy Dalton had no problem dumping the ball off, looking short, looking shallow. He had no problem with that. So I think Zeke is okay. He's going to get tons of work in the passing game. My guess is they're going to go back to the offense they had a year or two ago when they just relied on Zeke to run the ball, 25 plus times, dump off to Zeke, and just try to win games that way, because they can't win games the way they tried to on Monday night in shootouts, right? Now, maybe he won't get as many goal line touches as we're used to seeing, and that could hurt him a little bit, but I think the volume in the passing game and on the ground will more than make up for it. Zeke, you're fine. Amari Cooper, if you have Cooper, you got down on your knees and you thank the fantasy football gods for that garbage touchdown at the very end of the game, right, to give you something. But I still think you're okay. I mean, Dalton is looking his way. There's going to be better games ahead. You just got to understand it's going to be a roller coaster with Cooper. We're really with all the receivers. And the big thing here is his ceiling just isn't going to be what it was with Dak, right? He's not going to have that monster 150-yard touchdown, 2 touchdown game ceiling that we've seen him have with Dak. His ceiling is not as high. Floor also is going to be inconsistent. You're just going to have to take your lumps some weeks here, right, with Cooper. Like, you're going to have to roll him out. He's going to be good most of the weeks, I feel, but there's going to be some weeks where you just got to take your lumps with him. Similar with CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb did nothing in the first half. Dalton started looking his way in the second half, especially down the stretch. I think CeeDee Lamb will be okay, but again, like Cooper, lack of ceiling here, and you're going to take your lumps some weeks. There's going to be weeks where he does very little, where this offense just, especially in games where they're playing really bad teams and they can just run with Zeke all game and control the game that way. But again, it is what it is. I don't think you can bench CeeDee Lamb. He's just getting too much targets, too many looks. Now, Michael Gallup, on the other hand, he's droppable in any season-long league, because here's the thing with Gallup. Gallup, of all the 3 receivers, he's the only one that has the ceiling right now, because we saw Dalton targeting him deep. We saw him targeting him in the end zone. Now, they didn't connect. It didn't work. But if they had, he would have had a monster game. So he's gonna be the definition of boom or bust. The problem is you're never gonna know when he's gonna boom. So you can't roll him out in your lineup because the fear of getting a 0 is just way too high, right? But I like him as a tournament play. If you play daily fantasy, DraftKings, anything like that, I love him as a tournament play because he's super cheap and he has that huge boom potential. Like, he could break the slate. So You can drop him in any season-long leagues. Obviously, don't drop him in Dynasty, but any season-long leagues. I like him as a tournament play, but I don't like him at all in season-long. Just way too inconsistent, and you never know when it's going to happen. And then finally, Dalton Schultz, tight end, who's been a great waiver pickup. Dalton was targeting him a lot. He was especially targeting him a lot when the game was still relatively close, and they weren't forced to just drop back and throw the ball and run 5 wide receivers out there every play. So I do like Schultz. He's got a very good matchup this week. So I think if you have Schultz, you can feel okay about him as a fringy every week start at the tight end position. So that's my take on the Cowboys and how I'm feeling about that. Obviously, things could get better. I still do think Dalton is an adequate quarterback, and hopefully things will get better. But that's where we're at right now. Let's move on to my next panic player. And this is an actual player. And that's Mike Evans of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Look, he's been getting you lots of touchdowns. He's got that upside. We know he's got the upside. The problem is in the 3 games that Chris Godwin has played this year, he's only gotten 10 total targets in those games. So Godwin's really been hurting them. The fact that they have this monster defense, they're running the ball great with Ronald Jones. They just haven't had to throw a lot. I still think you've got to play him, maybe more matchup dependent, right? Like in tougher matchups against tougher corners, or in matchups where maybe it looks like they're going to, not have to throw very much. Maybe you can bench them. But in plus matchups and good matchups, you got to play them in most matches because we know, again, the ceiling is so high and Brady is looking for him in the red zone. When they get close to the goal line, he's a big body, right? He's looking for him. So he's always got touchdown potential. But as of now, I think in really tough matchups, you got to bench him. And if this trend continues where Godwin is getting more targets than him and he's barely getting the ball thrown to him, it could get to the point where Mike Evans is benchable. Not quite there yet, but could get there. A couple more wide receivers to cover here. Let's talk about Odell Beckham Jr. Man, this was a smash spot for Odell. People think, Steelers defense is so good, but they haven't been good against wide receivers. They've been great against the run, not very good against wide receivers. Well, the Browns look terrible. Baker Mayfield looked terrible. The whole offense looked terrible. So there's some real concern here with Odell Beckham, right? Because if Baker is playing like crap, right, then that's not good for Odell. And even in the games prior, Odell's getting the targets, but Baker's accuracy has been really, really bad this year. The good news for Odell Beckham is other than Baltimore in week 14, the Browns do have a pretty good schedule as far as passing defenses go. So I still think Odell is in play. He's got that massive upside. We've seen it this year. We've seen it throughout his career. He's got that massive upside. So I think you got to keep him in your lineup. Again here, kind of like the other guys we talked about, you just got to be willing to take your lumps. You got to know there's going to be some weeks where he might only get you 4, 5, 6 points and just take your lumps. Obviously, in plus matchups, you really want to play them, which we thought Pittsburgh was going to be, but it wasn't. In tougher matchups, you could think of him more as like a wide receiver 3, but I think the upside is just too high here to be benching Odell. Maybe try to trade him if you can to somebody who still believes, who thinks he can turn it around, see what you can get, because I'm very concerned for Odell and the entire Browns passing game right now. And we know they want to run the ball, right? That's what they want to do. They want to run the ball, as they should. They have a great running game. They have a great 1-2 punch when Chubb is healthy, so they should want to do that, right? All right, one more receiver, and this one really pains me because this was a guy I was really high on coming into the season. I thought he would really bounce back, and that's JuJu Smith-Schuster. I thought with a healthy Big Ben, with Deontay Johnson and James Washington on the outside, he'd be able to play in the slot more. And guess what? All that's happened. Big Ben is healthy. He's running the majority of his routes from the slot. It seems like all the stars are aligned. He should be having a monster season, and he's not. And again, he had a really good matchup against Cleveland, did very little. He does lead the team in targets, which is a good thing. The bad thing is his average depth of target is only 5 yards. 5 yards. I mean, that's horrible, right? That's like a running back average depth of target. So, unless he's going to rack up monster yards after the catch, it's going to be very, very, very hard for him to have huge games, because even if he catches 6, 7, 8 passes, you're talking like 30 to 40 yards, right? Without those monster yard after the catch games. So yeah, he's leading in targets, but what good is that doing you when he's only getting you, like I said, 30, 40 yards a game? I don't. I do feel like if you have better options than Juju, if you have somebody on your bench who's been playing well and getting points and has a higher ceiling, I would start them over Juju right now. I just can't do it. Like there's nothing here. It's not like he's been getting targeted a lot and they're just missing, or getting targeted in the end zone and they're just missing. He's getting the targets, but they're very, very, very low quality targets. They're not the type of targets that rack up fantasy points. So I think if you have better options than Juju on your bench, I would start those guys instead of Juju. I just don't think the ceiling is high enough, nor is the floor, to make Juju an every week must start kind of player. I don't feel he's that way anymore. It's time for us to stop thinking about him as an every week must start. And then finally, let's go to running back, my last player, and that's Mark Ingram. I mean, you should have been panicking about this guy for a long time, but he now has on the season, has less snaps than both Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, right? So he's not even the number one snap running back on the Ravens anymore. He's number 3. Edwards has looked good. Dobbins has looked good. Now he has this ankle injury. I know it's not supposed to be anything major. They say he should be back after the bye on a bye week, but I don't think it matters. Ingram, to me, is droppable in all but the deepest leagues because he's nothing more than like a handcuff. And even then, like let's say Edwards or Dobbins gets hurt. Let's say one of those guys gets hurt. Okay, now he's in a split. Right now he's probably in some kind of split with the other guy. He's not even going to be the lead back. So I just feel like Ingram is droppable. He's still rostered in 90+% of Yahoo leagues. There's no excuse for that. He needs to be dropped. He's not going to give you anything. You can't start him. There's no week when all 3 of these guys are healthy that you can start him because, again, getting out snapped by both those guys. I would honestly rather have Gus Edwards on my bench right now than Mark Ingram. J.K. Dobbins, somebody's got J.K. Dobbins because he was drafted, but Gus Edwards is still out there in like 90-something% of leagues. I would rather have Gus Edwards on my bench, to be honest, because if this Ingram injury is serious, or if he comes back and re-aggravates it and becomes serious, Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins are going to split the load on a Ravens team that we know likes to run the ball, that has very little in the passing game, and there's a lot of opportunity here. So I would honestly drop Ingram for Gus Edwards if Gus Edwards was on my waiver wire and I had Mark Ingram, because I would much rather have Edwards. I feel like he has way more upside, especially if Ingram were to miss time. So there you go, guys. Those are my top 5 panic players. Again, these are highly owned guys, not fringy guys. I want to know from you, though. Drop a comment. Let me know. Who's somebody on your fantasy football team that you are panicked about? And let's talk about it. Let's chat about it. And let's tell you, should you be panicked or should you not? What can you do? Is there anything you can do? Comment below. Again, if you want the chance to win that autographed Patrick Mahomes wall picture, frame, whatever it is, it's great looking picture of it here. All you got to do is subscribe, hit that subscribe button. You will then instantly be eligible to win. And we're going to announce the winner live Sunday morning when we come on here to answer your start sit questions. And even if you don't want to win the Patrick Mahomes, you should still subscribe because we drop all kinds of incredible content for you every single day. You don't want to miss it. Hey, if this was helpful for you, if you enjoyed it, if it was entertaining, whatever, hit that thumbs up. Helps the channel. Again, hit that subscribe button. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you next time.